Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com, and today I'm going to speak about the Sony Alpha 1 or A1, depends, some people say either name, okay? And why should I speak about it? Although I don't have the camera, I've not tested the camera, like 99.99% of people are speaking about it, same as Jared Paulin. I've got my notes here. Why? Because I think it's important to describe this camera, the specs. Why? Because it's been many years since a company had not innovated so much. So I think for the first time this top-of-the-range mirrorless camera can actually compete and attract people who were using a top-of-the-range reflex camera like Canon 1DX Mark III, Nikon D6, all this. Okay, so I'm going to speak about it. Let's start. First, obviously the price tag is really high. It's 7,300 euros. It's 6,500 US dollars. It's cheaper in dollar. Why? Because I think the tax difference and commercial policy, all this, but it doesn't matter why. It's top of the range price. But if you look at its competitors in reflex camera, when you look at Canon 1DX Mark III, it's about the same price tag. Nikon D6 is a bit cheaper, maybe 1,000 euros cheaper, but still we're looking at really top of the range. Okay, so I know that many people think, well, this camera is too expensive for me, or I cannot afford it, whatever, and I don't see the point to look at it. Well, I think there is a big point. I mean, when you think about the turbo most diesel engine have nowadays, any small cars, diesel car, they have a turbo in there. Well, turbos were developed first for Formula One racing, and then they were incorporated in top-of-the-range cars, the most expensive cars, and nowadays anyone can have an engine with a turbo. So what Sony is presenting here is probably our future in cameras. So I think it's interesting to have a look at it. Up to now, when you were buying a camera, you had to decide if you wanted high resolution or high speed. Sony already had this with the R like resolution, or the S like speed, like the A7 IIIS or A7 R4, for example. Okay, so they had this. Okay, but other brands do the same thing with the Nikon Z7 as higher resolution and Z6 lower resolution, higher speed. Or if you look at the Canon R5, R6, same story, R6 less resolution, R5 more resolution, and some speed a bit slower, things a bit different. Okay, so you had to pick. No, so now Sony presents us the Alpha 1, and it's like you don't have to choose. You have everything with this. I give you everything. You have one camera for everything. So we'll see if it's a universal camera, but this is the idea, to give you everything. So this is the first mirrorless that is actually presenting this way. I give you everything. It's a 50 megapixel sensor, stacked sensor. I'm not going to enter into detail how a stacked sensor is, all this, because it would take too long, doesn't matter. And all the marketing is around speed and resolution. Everything is fast, everything works quick and well. So they tell you have 30 frames per second burst rate, but if you look at the ad, you think, well, 30 images per second, that's quite a bit making pictures. Yeah, but this is electronic shutter. If you go to mechanical shutter, it drops to 10 images per second. So in this way, the Canon R6 and R5 are better. They have 12 images per second, are better or faster. They have 12 images per second. But electronic shutter is normally seen as a shutter with problems. So a bit later I'll tell you about what solution Sony brought to us, or not to me especially, but to people who buy this camera, to get 30 images per second without having these electronic shutter problems. It has a 15 dynamic range and it does 8K video. So first I want to congratulate Sony for that. They spoke about the camera, pictures, fast, autofocus, all this, and a bit about video. And this is what I was not happy about what Canon did with the R5, R6. they spoke a lot about video and not enough about photography. So this is why many people were disappointed with the overheating problem in video. They were expecting too much on the video side, when actually the photography side is really good on this R6 and R5. Okay, so I think it's good that Sony concentrated on what it is, a photo camera that also does video, but this is mainly a photography camera. So I think this is good. And speaking about resolution, it has also the feature that does a pixel shift, the same as a high res on Olympus or a Sony A7R4 or Hasselblad has this also. It just moves the sensor a bit, and then it makes 4 or 16 pictures, and then all together you have to, in this case you don't do in camera, same as on the Olympus. You need to use a software called Imagine Edge and use it on your computer. It will get all your pictures together. There's 4 or 16 pictures together, and you can get up to 199 megapixels, well, almost 200 megapixels. So if you really want high resolution, this is brilliant. This is a new sensor, by the way. There's a new processor, a Bion ZXR. No idea, it's just a name. For me, it doesn't mean anything. Just say it's new too, okay? The whole thing is, when you listen to Sony and the few people who've tried this camera, it's about speed. If you work in RAW file, in RAW format, compressed RAW format, you get at 30 frames per second up to 155 pictures in the buffer before it stops, because then it has to empty the buffer in the memory card. But this is really a lot. People don't realize, but at that rate, 5-second burst is really a lot. And if you use uncompressed RAW file, it's 82 pictures before the buffer needs to be emptied. So it's really good. It has a dual memory card reader. It uses CF Express Type A, and also it can read SD UHS 1 and 2. So these cards are really expensive. They are really high capacity, high speed, all this. So this is what you need to get the most of this camera. They are expensive. Okay, so back to the electronic shutter. The big problem when they tell you, well, my camera can do up to 30, 60 or 50 or whatever images per second with electronic shutter, they forget to mention that electronic shutter gives many problems, especially indoor, with artificial light, rolling shutter, all this. So let's speak first about rolling shutter. Rolling shutter is when something is moving in your picture, it will get some kind of deformation. Like I show you an example of the web from the Sony website. You see the golf club is really like this, curved, because actually the readout of the sensor is too slow. So one day I'll do a video about rolling shutter. So the pictures, when it all get together as one picture, things have moved, and so it's deformed. Okay, well, on this one they fixed it. As you can see, the curve in the golf club is the standard curve you would do doing this movement. So it really helps in video, it helps in photography, action photography. So many people who did not want to have this kind of problem, and will appreciate this, they've solved this. Second problem with electronic shutter. When you have artificial light, very often you get some bending, darker parts in the picture. I'll give you an example also from Sony website, and they fixed that. Actually, I've had that problem even with some reflex cameras. I remember my Canon, it was the 5D Mark II. Indoor, sometime if my speed was not a multiply of the electricity frequency, like here it's 50 Hertz, like if I was not shooting at 1/50th of a second or 100th of a second or 150th of a second, then I had this bending, okay? Well, they've solved it. They've solved it in a way that is good, because this bending does not always occur the same way. Sometimes you think with using a speed that is multiply of the electricity frequency would be enough, but not always. So you can actually dial exactly the speed you want. If you notice that at 125th of a second you have some bending, maybe you notice at 99th of a second you don't have this bending, well, you use that. So you can actually dial precisely until you have exactly what you want. So it means for concert photographer, indoor sport photography, all this is brilliant. You can actually get rid of this bending that is really problematic when you are using electronic shutter. other problem with electronic shutter is that normally it does not let you use your flash. And when it does, it's really at a really low speed, because otherwise it will not synchronize. And they fixed that too. Now it synchronizes at 1/200th of a second. I would prefer 250th of a second. Well, this is really good. So it means if you are using electronic shutter, you can at last use your flash. But if you decide, as I prefer myself, to use a mechanical shutter, then it's even better, because they've achieved to have 1/400th of a second synchro speed if you use full frame format in this camera. But if you decide to use this camera and crop it to APS-C format, then it's 1/500th of a second. So it's really, really high. So for people who are doing flash photography outdoor or in situation where they need to keep some speed, all this is brilliant. If you don't want to use HSS or iSync, this is brilliant, because you really get really high. So this is really good. So when we get to this point, the question is, do we still need a mechanical shutter? And this is a brilliant question, because this is where I think Sony has innovated, because they're bringing to us something that is the future. Get rid of the mechanical shutter. And also it's a way of attracting this reflex user who say, I do not want a mirrorless camera because there are too much limits, and if I use electronic shutter, it does not convince me. So this way you may think, yes, they will go there. And when people see that really an electronic shutter is always okay or better or the same quality or the same speed, same everything as a reflex camera, or same as a mechanical shutter, then they will probably get rid of the mechanical shutter. And this is probably the future of camera. For many years I've been telling that they're not innovating enough, and I think they've made a big step ahead. Okay, so the autofocus has a really fast reading rate, so it refreshes 120 times per second. It means a really precise autofocus, really fast. It has 759 points, and they cover 92% of the sensor, which is less than the Canon R6 and R5 that cover 100% of the sensor. Well, but this is what there is, okay? And obviously, along with everything you can think of with an autofocus, standard things you can think of, they've added new things. Obviously, you have eye detect for human, also animal, and now they came out with a new kind of animal. I didn't know it was not an animal, but they put it separately. They're birds. You can actually focus on the eye of your favorite eagle. If you want a bird, flying bird, you can actually focus on the eye. So for people who do animal photography, this is brilliant. This is a big step ahead. So they really brought to us something new and really good. Actually, when you see the market they're aiming at, it's clearly people who are using top of the range reflex camera or mirrorless camera. They want to go higher quality, okay? But why? Because the viewfinder has a 240 frames per second refresh rate, which is really brilliant. It means it will be really similar to an optical viewfinder, and this will attract many reflex people who are reluctant to use an electronic viewfinder. So it shows it. And also you see the kind of people, if you look at the screen, you can actually tilt the screen. It's touchable obviously, but the resolution is not that good. You would expect something better. Why? Because they know that their clients are viewfinder clients and not screen clients, LCD screen clients. So I think it shows exactly what part of the market they're aiming to. Then with money also, okay, but people who look of, if we speak about features. Also a problem with high burst rate pictures is that the blackout. It means I show you an example now with it comes from Sony website also. When you actually make pictures with a burst rate, between each picture you see black. You see, you don't see, you see, you don't see, you don't see. So this is really hard to really follow the in action photography, follow the person or the object or whatever. But they've got rid of this, no blackout. It means even if you're triggering full time or burst rate, you see all the time between each pictures. So this is a big step ahead. They've put an IBIS image in-body image stabilization. it gets 5.5 stops. That's okay, but it's not much. If you compare to Canon R 6 and 7 are better than this. But well, it's there. But I think Sony could have made better, but we cannot have everything. Maybe for the Mark II version of this, I don't know. Then let's go to video. Well, video, it does 8K. So Canon with its R5 was the first to step in this on these cameras with an 8K video, and this also, it does 8K, 30 frames per second, 10 bits, 420. So if you, I'm not going to enter exactly what it means, okay, but for people who know it, for the information, 120, okay, and you can actually record to both memory cards at the same time. On the Canon R5, you cannot record to both memory cards at the same time, okay, video I speak, okay? So this time you can record to both. And second, with the Canon R5, the 8K maximum quality, you need to pull it out to an external recorder using the HDMI or whatever you use, can't remember what it is, but to an external recorder. In this case, no, you can record the highest quality on your memory card, so that's good news. You have a maximum recording time of 30 minutes before it overheats. It stops to protect overheating. And in 4K you can do up to 120 frames per second, but then at this maximum speed you get well, maximum frame rate, and then will be the lower speed when you look at it, okay, but you have a crop of 10%, okay, well, that's not much, doesn't matter. What I really appreciate is that Sony has put a color profile for the video that comes from the video camera FX9 and FX6. So I think it's great, because this is what I was criticizing Canon about. They always try to limit their video side to protect their video line of cameras. In this case, they've included some things you find only in their higher quality video cameras. So I think this is good news, okay? Connectivity, obviously it has Wi-Fi. Also, it has super speed USB, 10 gigabit. Okay, so this is really fast. You have an Ethernet connection, so you can connect to network directly. And also, if you connect your camera to a 5G phone, you can it will actually cope with the speed of 5G. So this is great for reporters, sport photographers, or people who needs to send directly to the newspaper, or directly to the TV company, whatever. They can actually connect their camera to their 5G phone and send it straight away, and there will be no speed problem. So you know that 5G can really cope with a really high data rate. So bandwidth is massive, so actually it will be able to do that. So I do think Sony here has innovated more than ever and more than any. So does that mean that Canon is out, Nikon is out? No, we need to see the answer. Obviously, Canon already said, or there are some rumors that on R1 camera will come out with really high features, probably to replace their 1DX Mark III, to get that kind of people and that kind of price tag. So we'll see what the R1 will be like. And Nikon, we're not sure, but Nikon has financial difficulties for many years now, and they're even worse now, so we don't know what they're actually going to do. But I'm really looking forward to see what Canon is going to do, to see what will be the response. And also I'm happy to see these features that could be incorporated in our cameras later. Does it mean that everyone needs a camera like this? No. Does it mean you cannot do a good picture without a camera like this? No. I think it aimed to people who cannot fail. It means that if I fail, it is my fault, it's not the camera's fault. If I'm doing action photography and I'm pointing at people who are going to, players is going to score a goal, I must have the full development of the race, or how he runs. So I need my 30 frames per second. I need to have proper autofocus. If I make a picture of a bird, I want to have it perfect straight away. If I use electronic shutter, I don't want it to make sound. I don't want running shutter. I don't want problems. All this, it's really aimed at people who cannot afford to fail a picture, or do not want to fail a picture, so a part of their side. There's one thing I'm a bit worried is that Sony actually have brought many features, great, to help the photographer, but I don't think the image quality will be better. It will be probably it's the same, it's a bit better, probably the same as any top of the range camera, and that's it. And one other thing that worries me is about white balance. Sony is known for not being too stable with their automatic white balance. I don't know if they fixed it, but I think it would be a pity to get a great series of pictures with automatic white balance, and it becomes a nightmare after with post-production to get the same color and everything. So I hope they fix that, okay? But I'm not sure. But what I can say is that what they offer is a great step ahead. It's really innovation. It's really new. So I think many people probably will see this camera as a nonsense for the price, but don't see it as a nonsense. See it as a Formula 1 car. When you look at a Formula 1 car, you will never drive a Formula 1, but most things that are in this Formula 1 car one day will be in your car, and we help you to be safer, or use less power, or consume less petrol, or whatever, or to be more efficient, all this. So this technology is, I think, it's always interesting to have a look at it, okay? So that's it. I hope you like this video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it in social networks. If you are not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a small button down here, a small bell. If you click on the bell, you get notified when I upload a new video. My website, Gibaud.com. If you have any comment, you can leave a comment below. Also in the description, I'll leave you links of my gear on Amazon, also links to other part of my YouTube channel. And I put you a link to my PayPal account if you want to make a donation. I always appreciate. And please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.